Tally ho, friends. I am Wolfkins, the DM for the upcoming Kupo Quest campaign that we're going to be running here on Twitch. And I've got one of my players here that we're doing some interviews with. Hey, you want to introduce yourself?
Hey guys, this is Harlequin, sometimes Harlequin 381. Just here for the interview for the game.
Yeah. We finally have our start date. I did put out a video recently. We are going to be starting November 7th. We're going to be streaming Mondays at 9:30 p.m. I'm very excited. We've had to delay it a little bit just because of scheduling with everybody, but it's coming up. And I know I've been talking to you. You're pretty excited to get started too, I believe. So.
Very much so. I'm even trying to help you organize a few things like the player list and stuff.
Yeah. It's always great to have that one player that helps out with stuff like that, because anything to take the burden off of the DM. So
exactly.
That brings me to a question though. You have some pretty extensive experience with tabletop role-playing games and D&D in general, correct? So
yeah, I'm gonna date myself. I'm sorry, everyone. Us adults do play. So I started playing back in D&D Redbox.
Oh wow!
Back in the early 80s, 1980s.
You've been playing every edition since then, or
more or less.
Yep.
Some favorites, some not so good. Sorry, D&D 4th edition.
I knew it was 4th. I knew that was coming.
I played quite a few other games, Pathfinder series. Okay. You name it, I probably dabbled in it. I even started writing my own game. Never got published, never really finished it, but...
Okay. Well, which one's been your favorite so far?
To be honest, Pathfinder 2E is my absolute favorite right now.
Okay. I've heard good things
followed up by D&D 5E. I love D&D 5E for bringing so many people to the genre. I mean, I was around when they were like, "Oh, it's the devil's game," and
I can't even imagine.
And music too, and I was living during all that, and
I remember parts of that phase. I wasn't playing it though, but I do remember people whispering about D&D and it's making people satanic. It's making people kill themselves. They're getting so into it and delusional, and I'm like, oh, that sounds scary because I was a kid. And then you get older and you're like, oh, that was just a bunch of bullshit. So.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, just bringing up a recent thing, Stranger Things. Mm-hmm. That brought another what's this? They're playing Dungeons and Dragons. I've heard of it, never tried it.
Yep.
They even came out with their own edition. It was a pretty cool edition. I bought it and sent it as a gift to my best friend's. They're young girls.
I think I don't have the box set. I remember they came out with that. I do have the adventure on D&D Beyond that I've never had a chance to run. But I read through it and I looked at some of their versions of the monsters. They're pretty cool. And what I liked about it was it's written from it's Mike's perspective or something like that. So you got some notes in there that are from Mike, like a
looks like it's penciled in and all
really
that stuff. And
it's really neat.
It's an awesome edition. I might get my own just to have in my library.
Yeah, I've been moving in a digital direction just because most of my games now are online. Of course, this one's online because we're streaming it, and it's just. I've been using D&D Beyond because it's easy. I think the only one I physically own is the Player's Handbook, but I do like those nice collector's editions. The Spelljammer one looked really cool too, like that 3-box edition they just came out with. Well, that was very pretty. So yeah, you've been playing for a while. This one is it's not Pathfinder 2E. We are doing D&D 5e.
No worries.
I'm not as familiar with Pathfinder. I've mainly just came in with 5e. I was one of those kind of Renaissance people. I got interested into it when it was 4e, but when I started trying to learn it, it seemed complicated and it kind of turned me off. Then 5e came out, and I just decided to check out one of their Adventures Leagues one time. And I was like, oh, this is more straightforward. And picked up the Player's Handbook, then just became addicted to making characters. And I think I was talking with Ace yesterday about when we were doing his interview. We were like, I've got so many characters that I'll never play, but it's just so fun to make them. And it's easy. It's easy to roll up characters these days with 5e and D&D Beyond.
That's exactly one of the things I tend to do when I pick up a new edition of any game. I'll leaf through it, read the important parts, make a bunch load of characters just to
Mm-hmm.
see how do characters build, how do they look. Roll a few dice. It's like, okay, looks like I can hit this creature,
Yeah.
no problem. So that's kind of what my modus operandi on playing any tabletop gaming. I am old school. I do own books. I buy books. I like holding books,
Yeah, I don't
but I do
dislike
like
them, but
D&D Beyond.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's not that I don't dislike them, but I do. It's just the way I'm playing. It just seems it's just more efficient for me to buy those. But now they're coming out with those bundles. Now that Hasbro actually or Wizard of the Coast actually owns
Yeah.
D&D Beyond, so that might change. We'll see. But I also like it because I can share those books with my players as well. So like when I have them on D&D Beyond, when I do things like this, I can make all of the options available to you on D&D Beyond, so that you guys don't have to start buying stuff yourself. So,
I'm also hoping that D&D Beyond, a little plug and nudge here, that if you have the physical books, that you can finally be able to like add them into D&D Beyond.
yeah,
I know they're doing some things where they're giving you a discount, but we'll see.
well, I think they're starting to bundle them going forward, but I don't know about retroactively, because if there's retroactively, that'd be great, but I don't know. We'll have to see. But so I was talking with Psychic about just kind of the blend of players we have, because we have a nice range of people who are newer to D&D and people like yourself who are D&D veterans, and then we also on the flip side have people that are veterans of Final Fantasy and who are a little bit newer to Final
Not
Fantasy.
me.
So
I have about as much experience with Final Fantasy as you have with Pathfinder 2e, probably.
probably you played 14, I think you said, so you might have a little bit more, because I haven't
A
picked up
little bit,
Pathfinder yet.
yeah, a little bit of Final Fantasy. I think I got to, I want to say like level 10.
Oh, so
I don't even remember.
little
I
bit. That
can't
is a
even
little
log
bit.
back in. So I've been having trouble with that. But
Yeah.
that's my experience. I know a little bit of story because my nephew, he was a big Final Fantasy fan, and what what information I was able to get from you for like what should I know about the world, so things like that.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be really interesting, and I think it's nice how that worked out, because we've got a blend of people that will be able to help some of the new D&D players with maybe D&D rules as they come up. And then if there's anything specific about Final Fantasy that someone needs to know, we've got the players there that can help. And I think it balanced out really well. I was very, very pleased with how that kind of, because I wasn't really aiming for any kind of general level of understanding with this stuff. And the way that the Final Fantasies tend to run anyway is each one is its own standalone story, but there are threads, there are things that kind of go through the series that kind of makes them feel cohesive. And that's kind of how I've designed this world. Is, it has things from the Final Fantasy series, but it's not based on any one entry in the series. So therefore, you don't really have to have an encyclopedic knowledge. And I think it'll be interesting to see it from your perspective, because I think just being able to play it as a D&D game and follow it through like that, well, you'll have a slightly different experience than, say, Psychic, who is really into the Final Fantasy and might get more of the references. And it's just interesting for me to see how that's going to play out. So.
Yeah, like I said, I'm looking so forward to it. I've been watching or reading a few of the things that you've been adding onto Scabard.
I love that site.
I'm impressed. They sent me the whole thing about like, hey, do you want to join us for a subscription? I'm like going, I haven't GM'd. I'm trying not to GM anymore. That's what I did all the time with my buddies back in California. I'm not in California anymore, by the way. But yeah, I did almost all the GMing with my buddies because everyone wanted to play and no one really had a storyline. I'm like going, well, here, I got a story. Here, let's go.
I've kind of fallen into the Forever GM role as well. And I find it sometimes difficult to find a game because I have a young kid. So most of my playtime's later in the afternoon for me, like 9:30 p.m. So sometimes it's hard to find a game. So then I was like, you know what? I'll just start my own. And then I kind of had this idea for the Final Fantasy. And, my brother and I run a Final Fantasy podcast anyway. So I was like, why don't I just stream it? And we can just say, hey, it's more content. And he's like, sure. And then, I decided to do that. And now that we're like 2 weeks out, I'm like super nervous. I'm like, what was I thinking? Why am I doing this? But
We'll get those jitters out
oh yeah,
pretty
well,
quickly.
it's those pre-game. I mean, I've been DMing since probably 5e came out. Like I played for less than a year, and then realized I was going to have to DM if I wanted a steady game. And still, before every time, I sit down, I'm like, okay, it's still I get those stage fright right before I go on, even my home games, because I'm like, oh my god, I got to make this fun for everybody. Sometimes it's hard for me to remember, it's a collaborative thing. Like we all work together. The players have to put in, as much as I put in. But there's just that GM pressure, like it's all on me to make sure everybody has fun.
It is more work because you're the one that
yeah.
has to set up the work, the world, the encounters,
Yeah.
creatures, traps, puzzles, the whole storyline. Like,
Make sure it
why
makes
are we even
sense.
doing this?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
it's a
and
lot of work. I know.
adding the other layer on, because this will be the first time I've really streamed, and now I'm having to figure out all those tools. I'm like, oh, what Streamlabs, and oh, how am I going to display this, and oh, how am I going to capture people's videos, and oh, I didn't even think about this and that. So I think I'm getting it. I think it looks okay. So I like the overlay we're going with, and I'm pretty excited about it. But
Yeah, that looks sweet.
Yeah, I liked it. I find that on Etsy, actually. I was looking around, and then I think it was Ace was like, have you checked out Etsy? And I found some really cool stuff on there. So then it made me want to do other streaming, because I'm like, oh, I really like this. And I'm like, no, one step at a time, Wolfkins. Slow it down.
Plus things like Etsy supports the small businesses.
Yep, I do. Man, and they got some really good stuff. So, I mean, I knew about Etsy, but I always thought it was just crafty stuff for like, sweaters and stuff. Because my wife loves Etsy. She gets stuff all the time. I didn't realize there were like digital packages on there. I was like, oh,
You can even get custom-made models.
So I didn't even look at that. See, I've used like a Hero Forge before, but those are really expensive. I had one, and I had them paint it for me, and it was like $50. But I've only done it once, and it was for the one character. I was like, this is my character. I love her so much. This is the character that I enjoy playing the most. Even if this campaign goes to crap, I kind of want to have a memento of her. So yeah, I had her made up, but
nice.
But other than that, I don't think she's near our Georgia. So.
Yeah, I've tried to get my wife into a few games, and she's enjoyed them on the most part, but she's not like jumping up and down. It's like, oh, let me jump into the next one.
Yeah, so. That's same. So I like sharing hobbies with my wife, and we do lots of stuff together. But D&D's not her thing. And I've tried. She will every now and then. Like if I need another player, she'll like, okay, I'll jump in for this one shot. And there's been times I'm like, baby, I got like, this is a huge combat. Can you just help me run one of these monsters? And she'll be like, fine. But it's just not her cup of tea, really. But she gives it a try for me, so you gotta appreciate her for that. So
exactly.
But yeah, same. So I was looking for people that would be interested in this. So I think I've met up with you through one of the Discords, I believe, like the D&D Beyond.
Yes, I think the D&D Beyond one.
Yeah, and just kind of right away when you started messaging me, I'm like, I think this is going to be a good fit, because you seemed really knowledgeable about D&D. I thought we had pretty good conversations. You've been really good about the questions that you've asked, and I'm like, oh, engagement. I love player engagement, and I feel like I've been getting that a lot from you, which is great. And also, knowledgeable from the DM side of things. So you've been kind of helpful with that too. Suggestions, just bouncing ideas off of you. So there's only so much I can let you know without ruining it for you as a player. But it's been nice just kind of going back and forth on homebrew rules and stuff like that, and just kind of talking. So
yeah, quite a few of those rules that I read on that you posted on Scabard. I was like, oh, those are things I do, and I also shot you, like a couple other ones, but nothing that we have to use, of course.
Yeah, and I've got some of those marked as the maybe try category. So I've kind of organized those. That list I put together, and what he's talking about is if you go to our Scabard page, which everybody should be able to access it, because the idea is it's going to be kind of like a living, breathing document. I'm going to keep it updated as you learn secrets, as new characters are introduced. But I do have like homebrew rulings on there, and I don't think anything's too out of the ordinary. Most of it's clarifications that have come up through play, just to make sure everybody's on the same page. But yeah, just little things that slightly deviate, like how I handle nat 1s and nat 20s, just clarifications on that. I do believe that we discussed alternative potion rules in our session 0, and I might be adding those in. Those are not in there now, but I did kind of like what we were discussing there. So, but yeah, I mean that's I like to be transparent with my players. I like to make sure they know what to expect before they sit down. That's why I like to do the session 0. I like to make sure they've got the rules, and I don't like to spring things on them. One of the rules I like the most is people, if you do take a spell and then when we go to use it, you realize that, oh, I misread this. It doesn't work the way I let people swap those for free because I hate that feeling because it's happened to me and then I'm stuck with it because I like to play sorcerer. I'm stuck with it till a level up and then I have to use it as my swap out and it just doesn't feel good, especially when it's just something that I'm like, oh, I misunderstood. It's not a GM ruling or anything. This just wasn't how I thought it was going to go. Of course, you don't have to worry about that, right? Because you're playing fighter, aren't you?
I am playing, well, his name is Grunthor. He will be known as Golem because he has amnesia.
More than the normal amnesia that everyone else has.
More than normal. It's kind of my way of hiding the fact that I don't know that much about Final Fantasy.
Clever.
But yeah, I mean, he's known as Golem because everyone in the, let me see, the infantry. I was a part of the infantry and a teamster of the Republic of Bastok.
Yeah.
But what's Bastok?
Which
so
is
he has amnesia.
You'll notice that doesn't appear on the map anywhere, and most people you encounter may not have heard of it. So that's an interesting mystery that we're going to have to kind of unravel. Yeah.
Which is something we discussed.
We did. I also
he's going to be.
I got to give you this because it's that the Republic of Bastok is from Final Fantasy XI, which has a very, very. It was my first MMO. It was my World of Warcraft back in high school, and it is like the nearest and dearest to my heart. So I didn't have that city necessarily prepared on the map, but you gave me that, and I was like, I can work with this, and any additional Final Fantasy XI I can inject into this game is fine by me. So,
perfect. I just added my note, that note about Final Fantasy XI.
Final Fantasy XI.
Yeah. So yeah, he's a fighter right now. Pretty big. He's Galka. He is 7'5".
Yeah, he's big.
So he's on the maximum side of being a Galka-ish.
He's a big guy.
And he uses a two-handed sword. I was going with a Japanese theme for all the weapons, so it was going to be a Odachi or Nodachi.
Okay.
But I'm not going, you know what? I want to keep it as a great sword because he's not quite Japanese. I'm planning on a kind of a very guttural, angry Japanese voice for when he does speak. He doesn't speak a lot because he does not know what the is going on.
Right, yeah.
So
keep quiet, watch, and learn.
Exactly. He is currently a fighter. His background is a mercenary veteran.
Okay.
He loves to eat giant goats. So
yeah, I remember seeing that. Yeah.
For Love and Thunder.
I asked, those goats were both hilarious, and I wanted someone to kill and eat them at the same time. I'm like, you've got to stop.
Well, Golem will do that. He'll enjoy it.
Yeah, and yeah, I think it's. I really like what are you looking for? Samurai? Is that what you're ending up going with?
That is the plan. At level 3, and I'm one of those that like I pre-plan my ASIs and feats and stuff like that. Yeah. So I already know at level 4 I'm taking this. At level 6, I'm taking this.
I'll oftentimes make a copy of my character in D&D Beyond and then level them up and then see what it looks like. I do that a lot. Yeah. And I love just taking my characters to 20. I'm like, how much of a badass am I going to be when I hit max level, if I hit max level?
I do that a lot. Like I said, I build characters first and then see what they look like.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Well, and I kind of love the Japanese theme because even if you don't know too much about Final Fantasy, it is a Japanese property. I mean, it's Square Enix Japanese, so it just works there too. So at least that's very flavorful. So I love it. I to be honest, I love everything I've seen. I think, and I've said this multiple times, I think that we've got a nice group of really creative players. I'm loving what I'm seeing from the backstories, the prompt questions that everybody supplied. I'm just loving the creativity that's coming into this, and I can already see there's two characters that may be it's not game breaking PvP conflict, but there's some conflicting ideologies in two of the players, and I'm interested to see how it plays out. So no spoilers, but just reading through, I'm like, oh, you have a feeling about this that's one way, and you have a very different view about the same thing. So we'll see exactly how that plays out. I'm very interested to see. So
I'm also excited that we're actually going to have quite a bit of party composition.
yeah,
And that wasn't really planned.
yeah, no, because I think we've got what do we got? We've got fighter, cleric,
Wizard, artificer, and monk.
Monk, yes, yes.
So, which probably will be the roguish, and if the artificer might go tanky. I mean, I've got decent armor class, but
I think
that's
our
not my thing.
cleric is prepared for taking a hit.
True.
Our cleric is ready, I think. So.
Yeah, I forgot that was a cleric with the forge domain. So
forge domain, yeah.
I think they're going to have like an AC 20, 21, somewhere around there.
And then I'm sure the artificer could help make that even better. We'll see what goes. It's going to go nuts. It's going to go crazy. So I'm very excited. I'm looking forward to starting a new campaign because I've recently finished 2 campaigns, and I was in the process of another one, and then we just had to go on hiatus, some life stuff, just a couple months. So I'm just looking forward to really getting into this and sharing this world that I've been kind of pouring this labor of love into. And this is actually the first world I've ever tried to design like just my own, and it's been a lot of fun. I'm surprised, and a lot of work, a lot more work than I was expecting. But the Scabard page is making it a lot easier. I
can imagine that. I mean, if I wish I had that, I do notepads and stuff like that.
Yep. That's what I was telling. I showed this on one of the other interviews, but I used to just use one of these binders, right? And here's the last binder I bought before I discovered Scabard, so it's empty. So I bought it and then discovered. I'm like, I don't need you anymore. But yeah, it's great. It lets me make connections. It lets me take things from your all's backstory, and I can make its own page. I can keep them secret until they come out, and it's great for me to be able to organize things, and especially for someone like me that has sometimes a hard time keeping things straight. It has a nice timeline, so I put dates in there, and it'll line everything up for me. I'm like, oh yeah, this was 10 years ago, so yeah. So I'm like,
I could definitely see the positives in it, and with you plugging a little bit of Scabard, they should give you a kickback. Just saying,
plug it, yeah, because they're great. Look, I will sing Scabard's praises all day long. They are great. I love them so much. By the way, Scabard, if you're listening, I'll take like one of those free upgrades to like premium or whatever, because right now I'm like the mid tier.
Yeah,
let's go.
Yeah. Lifetime mid tier, something.
Yeah. I will sing your praises every single episode. So, but yeah, I mean, it's great. And if you ever do get back into DMing or GMing, it's worth taking a look at and they even have a free version that's relatively robust. It's just I needed a couple of the extra features as we were taking this into more of a other people might view this at some point. So I wanted to just have a couple of those other features to keep things straight in my head and just make it easier, more like a Wikipedia kind of thing. So,
yeah, and I mean it puts more work on your shoulders, but less work on us to having to take as many notes and things like that. It's like, wait, what was the name of that queen?
Yeah.
Oh, it's right here.
Yeah, exactly. And, well, that's good for me too, because sometimes I'm like, oh wait, what was the name of that queen? And then I'll go like flipping through my pages. But now I can be like, okay, well, I know she's queen of this kind. And then I just go to the city, and then it'll say, rulers, this person and this person. Boom, done. It's also great for me to keep, because, I mean, some of the stuff that I come up with, it's easier for me to remember. But connections on your all's end, I'm like, wait, so you knew this person? Ah, okay, yeah. It's easier for me to keep that straight in my head, too. So I'm terrible at notes. It's just a scattering of nothingness that I've written down everywhere.
My wife calls me one of these post-it note captain. Like I
Yeah.
post-it notes here and there is like, oh, I have an appointment. Oh, post-it note.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I got an appointment coming up. I do own. I'm not so old that I don't use a smartphone. Like I'll have like little notes here on top of my computer,
Yeah.
because the computer is usually one of the first things I
Mm-hmm.
boot up in the morning to check on things and jump into my games.
Right.
And it'll say things like, "Oh, make sure you do the uh, something in the garage."
Yeah.
Just to remind me. Plus,
Yeah.
I'm older. Memory problems.
Well, I used to use Post-its quite a bit. Like at my office, I would have Post-its just all over the wall, and then I switched to Google Keep, because now it's just basically just digital Post-it notes. So I've got, like, I open it. It's the first thing I do when I boot into work, and I open Google Keep, and it's just a Post-it notes of all the to-do list. So then I've like got the starred ones. I'm like, oh, I need to do these today, and then the ones at the bottom, I'm like, I'll get to those when I get to them, just to keep space off my wall.
Speaking about like work and post-it notes, I used to work at Blizzard Entertainment, and one of the things
Really
that we
cool,
used
by
to
the way.
do, that we would do, is take post-it notes.
Mm-hmm.
I know this is a waste of resources and stuff, but we would do pixel art
Oh, that's cool.
using post-it notes. And one of them we did was Mario from Mario Brothers,
Cool.
all with post-it notes,
So
not
like
coded.
not color coded, is it?
No, we didn't have that many. They just bought the generic yellow, but it was looks like the pixel art of the original
That's really
Super
cool,
Mario
though.
Brothers while he's doing that kind of thing.
Oh yeah. Okay.
On the walls. Yeah.
Cool. Did you ever do any? So you worked at Blizzard. Can you tell us what team were you on? Were you on the Warcraft team or?
Well, okay. So when I first started, I was a game master for World of Warcraft for 3.5 years.
Cool.
Don't even ask me if I remember my GM name.
What,
but I was.
What era was that though? Like what expansion? Do you remember?
Geez, Cataclysm,
Okay.
Battle for Azeroth. No, not Battle for Azeroth. Some of the earlier ones.
Okay.
But then I transitioned over to become a quality assurance game tester, and I jumped in for StarCraft 2 right in the middle of the first game.
Okay.
And I've been there for all three, and my names are in the credits.
Cool. All three StarCraft, like 2 expansions.
All three of the StarCrafts, and I was in the beginning of Diablo 3 when everything was still wireframe.
Yeah, I love me some Diablo 3.
Well,
Diablo 3.
That's the one. That's the one most people like compliment me on. I've been, of course, at BlizzCon. I've been on a signing table, and they asked what game I work on, and I was like Diablo 3. They're like, oh, what part?
Yeah.
So I did the combat, environment, some itemization stuff.
The combat on Diablo 3 is smooth. Like I just picked up Diablo 2 Resurrected, and I played it after Diablo 3, and I'm like, oh, this is fun, but it's not Diablo 3. Diablo 3 is just, it's just something about it. And I don't know if you had anything to do with it, but the Necromancer is just like, I love it. The Necromancer
that was later. I didn't get super involved in the expansion for Diablo 3.
Okay.
I jumped over to Heroes of the Storm.
May it rest in peace.
So I did a lot of that, but during Heroes of the Storm, they were looking for people to help out with Overwatch. Mm-hmm. So I did a lot of Overwatch.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I played a lot. I'm sorry for anyone that hated Symmetra. That's probably because of me and one of the few players that got play of the game on Symmetra,
nice.
A support character. But so I did a little bit of that. Did, of course, some WoW, Mists of Pandaria, and a couple of other things.
Mists of Pandaria is my favorite expansion. Like I absolutely.
You know what? People don't like it. A lot of people don't like it, but I loved it. I loved Pandaria. I loved the monks. I loved the look. I mean, I am Asian.
Yeah, I loved the Pandaren. Is that their name? Is that what the
Pandaren? Yeah.
They were great. Like I don't know what about it. Like when it first got announced, I was like, at first it was one of those things like, because Blizzard does April Fool's jokes. I'm like, is this real? I was like, oh, it's not April 1st. And then I was like, this could be really exciting. And it was just like a nice, fresh take, I think, because that was coming right out of Cataclysm, right? And things were so dour, and everything was just so down with black. And then all of a sudden, we're running around with pandas, and it still has a nice, meaty story of some bad stuff going on. And the Shah was very interesting, but the locales were gorgeous.
They were
just
beautifully
beautiful.
rendered.
And the animations on the Pandaren were just... Nothing was ever going to get me to change my hunter from a dwarf. Like, it's just, I'd been playing him since Burning Crusade. I couldn't do it. But I did make a monk, and I did get that. It was the second character I ever actually leveled to max level.
Nice.
Because I'm always, with MMOs, I'm like a one character kind of guy. I just don't have a lot of time. So I'm not an alt man. I like to have my character and play them, level them up, max level, raid and stuff with them.
I've got too many characters.
That's my brother. My brother has like 40 alts. I'm like, how do you get anything done? But yeah, that was the first one where I actually played something new and leveled the monk. And that and Wrath have been my absolute two favorites. I know Wrath's kind of
Wrath is still
classic.
Way up there as far as best.
Yeah, but I don't. Pandaria is my favorite, my personal favorite. I did not like Warlords of Draenor. I'm sorry.
I wasn't there.
Legion.
Fortunately, I left about 6 months before I was able to get my shield.
Oh no!
So
you should have stayed
Blizzard,
6 months. You were this close.
Every 5 years, you get a actual item. So by 5 year, I got a actual sword, metal sword, and it was a black blade. And then at 10 years, I would have got a shield. At 15 years, I think
building out a set of armor. Is that what they're doing?
Basically, I'm like, okay, what do they give you at the 25 years? Is it a full set of armor or a breastplate or something like that?
Giant shoulder pads.
So there's a ring, there's a helmet, things like that.
That's
so
cool.
It was pretty cool. Christmas parties were awesome. They were usually at the Disneyland Hotel.
Your job's
things
so
like
much
that.
more fun than mine.
I mean, it's hard to break into the gaming industry as it is, but my claim to fame is I'm actually published. My name is in the credits, and that's my happiness.
Yep. That's pretty cool. I mean, it's definitely really cool. So, but yeah, there's part of me I don't play WoW currently. We took a break, kind of. There was just something about. I really like Legion. There's just something about Shadowlands that just lost me a little bit.
It's a grind, unfortunately. The next expansion, Dragonflight. I mean, we got it. We're gonna play around with it. I have not paid for WoW for a long time, the subscription. Awesome. I make so much in-game gold, I can buy the token in there's a month. I bought the game using in-game tokens.
Now is that out yet, or
that launches next month? But the pre-patch already came out, so so they changed the UI.
That's why Solo was canceled on my podcast. Like, when did it come out?
The pre-expansion?
Yeah.
The pre-patch. It came out this past Tuesday.
Yep. That's it. Oh, I knew it was something like that.
Templates are changed. The UI has changed. So I'm having to relearn everything.
Yeah.
My add-ons don't work, of course. But it's typical stuff.
Yeah.
And it's a learning game again.
My brother, who runs the podcast with me, plays a lot of WoW, and he just randomly canceled on a Tuesday, and I'm like, all right, whatever. That was it. Oh, I'm gonna give him so much crap. I knew it had something to do, because he canceled on me when Wrath Classic launched too. And I'm like, dude, this podcast was your idea. Stop canceling on me.
Yeah, and I mean, this next one, Dragonflight, is supposed to be another big one, because new race, new class.
Oh, and they're locked together though, right? Race and class.
They are locked together. I'm expecting it's like, okay, how many of those are we going to see in dungeons and raids?
1 million. So to bring it back a little bit to D&D, that's the one thing that I didn't really like about WoW, is the race class lockdown. What I do really like about D&D is, see that transition?
Pretty open.
The flexibility to be open. Because, I mean, even in Warcraft, I know it's much better than it used to be, because they've actually opened that up quite a bit. But Tauren stick to mind, just not having as many options back in the day. And then, of course, the Night Elf Mage was always one. And there's always a lore reason here or there why you didn't allow them. But I that's one of the things that really gravitated towards me towards D&D, is because I was playing a lot of WoW, and I just felt like I had even more flexibility with my characters when I came over to playing D&D. And it's kind of like playing WoW, but on such a much more open scale. And it's hard for a new player to grasp. You can do pretty much anything. You're like, okay, well, what can I really do? It's like, what can you imagine you can do? And we'll see if it's possible. You know, like it's...
Take from column limited. A, add column B.
Yeah. Yeah. So I
want to be a turtle rogue.
Right? They're great. Yeah, turtle monks. I made a Ninja Turtle because I love Ninja Turtles. You can see my Ninja Turtle mac and cheese boxes back there. That's my little collection.
Paper itching where? Then I have a question for you. Who's your favorite turtle?
Donatello. He's the best one.
Mine is Raphael.
Raphael is also good. So Raphael used to be my second favorite. But as I've gotten older, Leonardo has passed him a little bit because he gives me that older brother vibe, which I'm
Leonardo's number 2 for me.
Yep. So it's Donatello, Leonardo. My least favorite, and I don't not like him, but it's Michelangelo. Like,
yeah.
And I think he's like,
too silly.
Yeah, I know he's like probably the most popular, but for me, he's just like you need him. You need all 4. I think they've got a great dynamic. You need all 4 of them, but just Mikey's just my least favorite. I love the dynamic between Leonardo and Raphael, though. That's always some of the best story. And my personal favorite Ninja Turtle movie, now you got me started. My personal favorite Ninja Turtle movie is the 2007 TMNT, and I know that's not a popular option, but I love it, the computer animated one. And the fight scene between Leonardo and Raphael in the rain on the roof, if you know what I'm talking about, is just so good. And there's so much going on in their silent interactions in that scene. And I'm like, this is what my turtle heart has dreamed of since I was like 5. So,
well, I mean, I grew up with TMNT, loved the first. My personal favorite is the very first movie, original movie.
One. It's probably...
because it's actual latex suits.
Yeah. Yeah.
With full animatronic, like the mouthing when I think is it Leonardo that says Splinter?
Oh yeah, yeah. Isn't that Jim Henson? Did he do that? Was that Jim Henson?
Probably. I wouldn't be surprised. I love everything that Jim Henson does anyway.
Yeah.
Like the Dark Crystal redo.
Oh yeah.
That was amazing.
Yeah.
I'm a movie file, by the way. It's like if you want to talk movies, especially geek movies, Star Wars, Star Trek, TMNTs,
me too.
The Marvel movies. Holy crap.
Yeah, we were talking about those, I think, in one of our other ones. I can't remember who brought it up, but I think we were talking about Marvel movies. But
I could talk all day about any movie. I love books, traveling.
Yeah,
I'm a foodie.
Yeah. My wife is a foodie, and she's kind of turned me into one. When we went to Disney World recently, and it was Epcot's Food and Wine Festival. Oh, best day ever. Even better day, we had a babysitter, so we could just run around, and I don't even want to know how much money we spent, because you're also having a little bit of the wine, and then you just kind of stop thinking about it, and you're like, ooh, you know what sounds really good right now? Oh, I've had 2 glasses of wine.
That helps you forget how much you spent.
And how many calories you're eating. But you're also taking like 400 million steps at Disney World. So, the Epcot Food and Wine Festival is really good. So
excellent.
They had this whole stand that was just mac and cheese and 4 different kinds of mac and cheese. And it was delicious.
It's funny you bring up things like mac and cheese. Originally, I had a thought I was going to open up a food truck. I was so much a foodie. And it was going to be called, and this is copyrighted, no one can take it, the Holy Cheeses.
I love it. Holy cheeses. I love it. So would you do mac and cheese, grilled cheese, or just mac and cheese, or any kind of cheese dishes?
It was going to be a Saints and Sinners menu. The Saints was going to be mac and cheese with whatever you throw in. Sinners menu was going to be paninis with mac and cheese. So it's marble with load because it's on fire, it's grilled.
I love it. This is a great idea. And the Sinners menu can have more calories and really the good stuff everybody likes. Ooh, man. Okay, I won't steal it, but I mean, if you ever get around to it, I might want to like invest or something because that sounds
Okay,
awesome.
hey, cool.
Uh,
Second investor.
we've got a local uh, food thing that comes through called the Taste of Cincinnati, and they have like this whole food truck alley that they put in, and that's always fun. I just love
Mm,
food trucks; they're just cool. It's just cool to walk down, and
yep.
they always have the best
Pricey,
food.
boy, best way you can get a try of something.
Totally worth it. Totally worth the little bit extra you pay. But I mean, they gotta afford gas, and gas just keeps
Yeah,
getting more expensive. So
yeah, and until they come out with good electric food trucks.
yeah, that might be a while.
Yeah,
Well,
right. Because you're going to need something to like heat up all those burners and everything.
yeah, yeah. Oh man, now I'm hungry. I just had
Uh,
lunch too before we talked about this, and now I'm starving. Thank you
well,
very
it's
much.
breakfast for me, but
Oh well, yeah.
speaking of which, don't forget, I won't be able to make. Well, I will be on for the
Mm,
first session, but I will be away. I'll be in a hotel room,
yep.
but should be good from that point on.
Okay. Yep. So that's thanks for that reminder. So yes, so you we will be seeing you on episode 1, but just in a more limited capacity than normal. But you'll be there. So, and you'll be here in our hearts as we think about you. So, but yeah, I think I'm looking forward to starting. I'm very, very excited. I'm just putting the finishing touches on the things I need to do on my end, trying to get the stream ready, trying to make sure I've got everything set up. I was playing earlier because just making sure I've got the screen captures, how I'm going to show some stuff to you all in the Discord call, how I'm going to show things to the stream, and just making sure everything's lined up. Making sure we did decide to do our roles digitally, so we will have a section on the actual overlay for all the roles, which I think will be a nice benefit for viewers as well too. So yeah, nervous,
Excellent.
excited, but I tell you what,
It's going to be awesome.
I think it's gonna be fun. And having these interviews has been nice because we don't none of us really know each other. We've kind of found each other through the various discords, and we've had a session 0, but it's been nice for me just to get to talk to people just about whatever, just to get to know you better on a person level and not just your character sheet. So it's been great. So I've really enjoyed
Because
it.
there are people behind every character.
There are. There are.
The more you know.
And I think we've got some pretty good people behind our character sheets.
Well,
So
thank you. And we're excited about the GM.
I hope so. I'm trying. I'll try my best. If it sucks, I'm sorry, but I just know that I tried. Okay,
It's not going to suck. It's not going to suck.
just know that I tried. So anyway, yeah. So I mean, these videos have been going. We're running about the time that we've been doing. Is there anything else you'd like to add? If you do socials, I've been giving people a chance to say where they can be followed. If you don't want to be followed, don't say anything. But yeah, anything else you want to add here at the end?
I'm too old to do too much social. So, I mean, I did start a Twitch channel for a little while,
Mm,
but I don't do it too much. It was mostly WoW, and
yep.
no one's really super interested in WoW anymore. But I have been playing some other games, and I just recently joined a clan, so I might restart my Twitch. And if you are interested, it's twitch.tv/Harlequin381.
Perfect. Perfect. Just out of
And I'll
curiosity, what other games did you recently start?
I just started Gundam Evolution.
Oh, yeah, you were
It's a
telling us about that.
it's a free shooter, very much Overwatch, but with the
Mm,
Gundam universe. I mean, you play mechs. How cool is that?
yeah.
And I just recently joined, sort of like a clan, but it's not that we stomp, but we have gotten stomped too. But overall, I love playing with people that know what to do,
Yeah.
can do the objectives with me instead of me standing there by myself.
Yeah, yeah. That
Um,
that's a big difference when those in those team shooters or team based like MOBAs or anything like that. You can tell a difference when you've got a team versus when you don't.
yeah.
So I mean, I
I'm
really
gonna
got
try and
into.
get.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm gonna try and get my Final Fantasy 14 back up.
Mm,
Figure out why I can't log in. Um,
it's worth playing. It's a
let's
great
see, what
game.
else am I playing?
Amazing
Did
free
a
trial.
right now we're doing Borderlands 2,
Hmm.
going back because a few buddies of mine are. We do Wednesdays to play, and I haven't streamed that, but I'm playing Gage this time around on it. That's
Okay.
the Necromancer. Um, My wife just said TF2, and I'm like going, I used to be really good with TF2. I absolutely.
I was just thinking about TF2, and you're talking about these. I was like, man, you know what I'd like to play again? TF2. I haven't played that in forever.
I used to be really good,
I used to
but
play it a lot. I wouldn't say I was good, but I used to play it a lot.
yeah, well, and I've been jumping back in because the clan that I play Gundam Evolution with, they also play TF2, and I jumped in once, and I'm like, okay, I think I've died way more than I've
Yeah.
killed.
It surprises me games like TF2 still have like a player base. You know, just because it's not a new game.
Yep.
It's pretty old at this point, and it surprises me just the longevity that some of those games have
But
that
it
aren't
shows you when a
MMOs.
good,
Yeah,
true.
yeah,
It just shows you when a game is good,
yeah,
like really good,
yeah,
the longevity that they can have, or like there are games that are not so good that within a year they're gone.
yeah,
So,
yeah. Final Fantasy actually, or Square Enix had two that just happened because they had that Babylon's Fall that's being shut down not even a year later, and then they had a battle royale on mobile, Final Fantasy VII, First Soldier, and Final Fantasy VII's kind of their golden ticket. It's shutting down in January, less than a year
oh
too.
no,
So yeah, that was surprising. That was surprising to me, but it makes it sad sometimes, especially if that was one of the games you really got into. And then yeah, but then games like TF2 are just around forever. Like I could just, if I decided to go play it, and that's just so weird to me. And every now
well,
and
I
then
can't believe things like Doom are coming back.
I know, and I kind of love it because every now and then I get an itch to play something that I played in like high school or even middle school, and I'm like, well, I can't. Like some of the servers got shut down, or one thing I was really looking forward to getting back into was Warcraft 3. I loved Warcraft 3. And then Reforged came out, and I didn't get it. I didn't end up playing
Did
it
you
too
get your
much.
refund?
No, I
Um,
kept it. I just held out hope that it would kind of fix itself, and then I got bored of waiting and moved on. So I've got it hanging out there, but I mean, nothing. Such fond memories of just high school, just coming home, clicking into my dial-up internet, connecting to a 4v4, and you're in there for like 2 hours just fighting over resources and stuff.
until your mom picks up the phone. Damn it!
Yeah, I remember one time. Yeah, I know we're running late, but I remember one time that there was I think me and one other, and we had one more guy to. It was a 4v4, and got down to 2v1 after we knocked some people out. And my parents came home, and I knew they needed me to do something. Like I was like, oh god, I'm gonna have to like do the dishes or something like that. And I'm like, please, 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 hurry, hurry, hurry. And I remember we destroyed their base like right when they started screaming my name. And I'm like, yes. I think the match took us like 2.5 hours. It was a long back and forth, but it sticks out in my memory. I was playing Night Elf. And at the end, we kind of divided and conquered, and I ended up this just huge army of chimeras. Just that was my contribution, and I just was sieging the crap out of them from the east.
Nice.
Good times, man. I miss RTSs.
No, we haven't had a good RTS for a little while.
It's
Yeah,
been StarCraft too. Really, that's the last
that
one.
was probably the last one.
It's
Yeah,
just kind of a
I mean,
dying. Got replaced by
back in the
MOBAs.
Command and Conquers and stuff like that.
Man, it was like they were in their heyday. They had so many of those things out there, and then now they just don't.
Now it's all about shooters.
Shooters and MOBAs. There's a lot of MOBAs that kind of filled
Mm,
that void. But yeah, shooters. And I'm not good at shooters, so I don't play them that often. But oh well.
I play too many. Just ask my
Just
wife.
I get killed too much, so I don't.
I get
Anyway,
banned too much.
it has been absolutely great talking to you and getting to know you a little bit better. I cannot wait
The same.
to see your character and how we go and do this game. So again, a reminder that's going to be November 7th is our first stream. Harlequin here will be on he'll be there, but
Mobile.
mobile for the first episode, but he'll be there. And then we're streaming Mondays at 9:30. You know, weekly schedules what we're looking to do. Might end up taking a couple weeks off, especially as we get towards the holidays, but we'll talk about that and we'll let everybody know what we're going to do. And you can find that at twitch.tv/KupoQuest. And then the VODs of that will be going up on our Highwind Herald YouTube channel because that's the brand technically that's producing the show. So, but I'll put all the links to that in the descriptions and stuff. And If you want to follow me on Twitter, you can follow at Wolfkins, or the show, the podcast show at Highwind Herald. I've been doing a lot of updates for this show, Kupo Quest, on there as well. Haven't decided if I'm going to break out and just do a different Twitter for that, but follow them for now and you'll find out if I do. So 3 Twitters just seems like a lot to manage. So I've been resisting the urge to do that. So
I have one and barely even get on there.
Yeah, I'm on there too much. That's the thing, I'm on too much. So anyway, it has been absolutely wonderful talking to you. Thank you so much for agreeing to do the interview and for agreeing to play. I can't wait to get this started.
Excited. Can't wait.
Me too. All right. It's been good talking to you, Lally Ho friends, and we'll see you on
Great
November
talking to you.
7th.
Stay tuned.